Welcome to the show. We're going to do things. We're going to do basehead things. Um, we're going to do a whole lot of basehead things. People are going to be showing up here in a minute. For now, I need to get my headset on. Well, there's already some folks in there. Nobody in chat, but can't win them all. I think my cord has a bit of a short in it. Something's always coming and going in this cord. I ain't figured out exactly where it is. I need to get me a new one. Welcome to the show tonight, guys. We're going to be talking about bass. We're talking about music. We're going to be talking car audio. We're going to be talking about dumb people because there's always dumb people to talk about. We're talking about a whole lot of stuff. To get this party started, we're going to do a little track that I just got done with. It'll be available on all your streaming services within a few days. So check it out while I wait for folks to show up.
He rises from the bones of the island, from the storms of old, from the roar that split the sky. Long live the king.
Stone hands pressed down on the mountain ridge. Earth cracks open when he steps to the edge. Tribal drums thump in the jungle of night. Eyes burn gold in the shadowed light. Legend after legend all whisper the same. A beast who bows to no blade or chain. They said he was myth, just a tale, just a dream, till he rose through the fog with the world shaking scream. Villagers kneel as the ground vibrates. Ancient runes glow, the island awakes. Lightning strikes twice on the crown of the hill. Even the gods grow silent when the king stands still. Long live the king. Thunder in his veins when the war drums ring. Long live the king. Long live the king. Skies turn black, you can hear him scream. Long live the king. Long live the king. Fear no monster, fear no thing, 'cause he's the storm, the quake we sing. Long live the king. I'm steel bird circle, but he don't flinch twice. Jet fuel flames can't freeze that ice. Towers fall down at the weight of his stride. He's a whole damn mountain with a warrior's pride. Soldiers shake when he beats his chest. Tribal call, boom, like a warhead's breath. Chains can't tame him, fire can't scar him. Even the devil don't dare try to mar him. He ain't the villain, he's the balance restored. A titan of justice, an ancient lord. He don't start the fight, but he ends the pain, 'cause he's the hammer of thunder in a world gone insane. Long live the king. Thunder in his veins when the war drums ring. Long live the king. Long live the king. Skies turn black, you can hear him scream. Long live the king. Long live the king. Fear no monster, fear no thing, 'cause he's the storm, the quake we sing. Long live the king.
In every age, a king must rise. Some rule with fear, some rule with lies. But this one, he rules with thunder.
He rules with thunder. When the world cries out and the weak lose hope, when the chains tighten round the island's throat, he rises from stone like a living crown. Every heartbeat shakes the ground. Enemies fall when the shadow grows. Storm clouds crackle when the fury flows. He guards the lost, protects the small. A king stands tallest when the world feels small. Rage of a monster, heart of a man. Born from the earth with a titan's plan. When he throws back his head and unleashes the scream, you remember why the legend sang. Long live the king. Thunder in his veins when the war drums ring. Long live the king. Long live the king. Skies turn black, you can hear him scream. Long live the king. Long live the king. Fear no monster, fear no thing, 'cause he's the storm, the quake we sing. Long live the king.
The island sleeps,
Long live the stands. Long live the king. Long live the king.
Yeah, that was the low bass version. I made a version for everybody to be able to listen to, and I've also got a version coming up that I'm going to upload here in a bit. That is the big bass version for the demos, and 25-foot headphone cable. Shit, dude, let me tell you. Check out. I'm going to show you guys how this process goes. I'm going to show you a little tiny snippet of the workload involved in putting a track like that together. So bear with me just a second. Let's see. We'll go to entire screen. Share. We should get audio from that. Got to open up my audio thing. I'm going to start it back here just a little ways and kind of show you guys. Watch what's happening on this screen. Down here at the bottom is my bass, my drum track. This is bass that I've created. This is other. This is synth. This is percussion. This is guitar. This is backing vocals. And this is primary vocals at the very top. But what I want you to look at is this track right here that says audio. Watch a little bit of this, kind of get an idea of what every single thing that you see here, all these little pieces. I made these.
Is on the right.
Really? Is the next station on the right, though? Holy shit. The GPS is still on. Hang on a second. Let me shut this thing down. Stupid ass GPS, still tracking shit. What are you gonna do? Anyway, this will be a little piece of what the work I put in. Every one of these, I made these by hand, each individual one. So watch this piece.
When the world cries out and the weak lose hope, when the chains tighten round the island's throat, he rises from stone like a living crown. Every heartbeat shakes the ground. Enemies fall when the shadow grows. Storm clouds sparkle when the fury flows. He guards the lost, protects the small. A king stands tallest when the world feels small. Rage of a monster, heart of a man. Born from the earth with a titan's plan. When he throws back his head and unleashes the scream, you remember why the legend says. Long live the king.
That's just some of it. I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you what I did on the bass, on the drum track. So to start with, I had to kick it off. I had to create another drum track also. This is the drum track down here below. So these are the standard drums. I followed in with these drums. You can hear how this sounds.
Press down on the mountain ridge.
If you've got some decent headphones, you'll be able to hear this.
Drums thump in the jungle of night. Eyes burn gold in the shadowed light. Legend after legend all whisper the same. A beast who bows to no blade or chain. They said he
All of
was
these.
myth, just a tale, just a dream, till he rose through the fog with the world shaking scream. Villagers kneel as the ground vibrates. Ancient runes glow, the
Individual
island
drum
awakes.
kits.
Lightning strikes twice on the crown of the hill. Even the gods grow silent when the king stands still. Long live the king. Thunder in his veins when the war drums ring.
All those are individual drum hits that I created and placed. Each one. If we zoom in, you can get a little closer view here. Each one of these I created individually, tuned them exactly where I wanted them, and placed them exactly on the money to play along with this original beat to give these drums more body and more bass. And they go all through the whole first part of the track. Little bitty drum hits all through here. And then we start in with the sine wave bass, which is the big heavy bass notes right here where you get that long,
Steel bird circle, but he don't flinch twice. Jet fuel flames can't freeze that ice. Towers fall down at the weight of his stride. He's a whole damn mountain with a warrior's pride. Soldiers shake when.
See, it just goes and goes, man. But I wanted I love the dynamics. This is a severely dynamic track. I mean, like super dynamic track. And that's what I was shooting for. So let's see what you guys got to say about this. And I know there's been a lot of comments in here. Frank said, let's put another shrimp on the Barbie. I had pork chops tonight. This is Sunday. You guys know I eat pork chops, mac and cheese, and mashed potatoes on Sunday. So we're gonna get with the program. Dove slap in the face, in the face, in the face, in the face. Yeah, yeah, baby. Let's see here. Phil, Dubby's always changing up his shit. Um, those kids were unhinged. He said, "Sup, D? Nice to see you. Sup, Slim? Red Pill. Um, I didn't like it. I didn't do it. I don't know what it was. I didn't like it. I uh, I almost never like my own videos. I don't know why. It's just sort of weird. It's like self pleasuring. I know we don't never do that. Slim said, "All right, Sunday slow jams. I'll pause it for a minute. All right, Will. I know you paused that. You said that a while ago, but I'm going back and making sure I don't miss anything." Slim said, "I like music." Uh, he said, "Let's get the party started." Will King Kong in the trunk. I haven't heard this in the Tahoe yet. I got back from a little tiny show we did today. Well, y'all see the video. It's we were supposed to be quiet. Um, we were supposed to be, civil, and that's not how it worked out because it never does. If I'm there, it's not going to be civil because as soon as people see what's in my Tahoe and hear a little bit of it, they all want demos. I have an itch, so I'm using the screwdriver to scratch it. They all want demos, and then we're demoing, and the people are like, "Oh my god, my stuff's falling off the shelf. Oh my god, my customers are freaking out. Oh my god, oh my god." I'm like, I haven't even turned it up yet. Y'all calm the hell down. Um, that video is coming up. We did get a little crazy because we're just, yeah, it is what it is. Uh, let's see here. Sounds like a gorilla in the trunk. It's with the junk D4 earbuds. Can't pick up any of it. Well, yeah, these little things, they do a pretty good job. So I don't know what these are called. I need to figure that out so I can tell you guys. If I'm listening to, because when I do a mix, before I upload it, okay, before I actually upload it, I I listen to it on the phone and make sure that the phone speakers sound, something. It makes it doesn't sound like hot garbage because my stuff's all heavy low bass, and so most of the time the phone doesn't really pick it up. I try to include enough the upper notes in there to kind of make it sort of work, and to listen to it on the phone with headphones, and I use those little earbuds, and I can hear pretty damn good on those. They'll play you down into the high 20s pretty good. And of course, I mix it on this system in here, which is two car audio coaxials and the subwoofer, which is a basic system. It plays pretty low also. It doesn't actually play, I don't think it plays really as low as the headphones. Headphones are a little bit lower. Then I take it out to the Tahoe and I run it through there, except I hadn't done that with this track yet, so I don't know what this sounds like. But I listen to it on multiple different sources. That way I can kind of have an idea if it's going to work on pretty much everything that people typically do. King Kong in the trunk. Let's see here. Slim said, "I love it. Thank you, man." Let's see. I'm over there. You guys are nuts. Okay. Old school home stereo with a headphone adapter. Yeah, I've got a nice pair of headphones. I need to bust those out because I've got the cord thing for them and they can just plug straight into and I wouldn't have to use this stupid wire that's always got a short in it. They got a 70 millimeter driver in them too. They'll actually produce what you're looking for when you want something to produce bass headphone wise is something that's got like a 70 or bigger millimeter driver in the headphones. It's going to play bass nice and warm. It's also going to play your low vocals really, really smoothly. So, and I've got some recommendations on headphones, but I don't like spending crazy money on them. But you have to spend a little bit to get a decent pair. Um, Well, we'll talk about that one night. I'll bust that out. I'll bust that out. I'll bust that topic out, and we'll talk about headphones because us bass heads, we can't always be, throwing subwoofers at the wall. Like right now, I have a 12 in here, and this whole room just shakes. But my wife is pretty much deaf, and so I can get away with that shit, especially with good insulated walls, and I can get away with not getting in trouble. I can play pretty loud without her yelling at me. Um, let's see here. Long live the king, baby. Let's see, headphones or bassin. Hell yeah. Holiday weekend. Yes, we had an excellent holiday weekend hanging out with my wife, and things were good, and that's always what I like to see. We had meatloaf, and I still got a piece of meatloaf and some mac and cheese in there on a plate in the fridge. I need to get that out and chow down on that plate late tonight or tomorrow, or yes, I don't know. I'm full on pork chops right now. I got them in the fridge too. I love my leftovers. But yeah, we had a good weekend. It's cold, so we spent all the time in here playing with the cats, harassing the kitten. The kitten was harassing all the other cats. Freaking hilarious to watch a little 2 ounce freaking tiny little kitten, you know, uh, chasing a 20-pound tomcat around the house, just giving him mortal fits. And I literally saw that kitten jump on his back and ride him like a cow or like a horse, which is hilarious, man. Kittens are so funny. Opinion. Okay, what's this? Making and making Mitsubishi. Um, I'm guessing you're down in Georgia. Maybe I don't know. No, that'd be Macon, Macon. And I don't know. You kind of playing with the words, so I figured it's possible. Opinion on the DB45. Don't get them. There you go. Just got one in the mail along with a Hot Clip 6. Yeah, don't get the 4515. You're better off getting the 300 series, the 300, the 3015. Sorry. Is it going to work? Yeah, it'll work. It's like, so here's the way I look at things, okay? And I'm not going to be able to do this the way I wanted to, but you got your money line, right? And then you got your performance line. Well, this is the performance line. This is the money line. So on the 30 series, the 300 series, you're getting, well, this is a performance. Okay, so you're getting more performance for money. When you get to the 4500 series, they cross paths. And you're spending more money, but you're not getting the performance level. Um, they're just not the best subs. The design is not great. Um, will it do the job? Yes. You'll be happy with the sub, but you could have paid a lot less and got more. That's what I'm trying to say. Um, but the Apocalypse 6K, good amplifier, and it'll be a good match for that sub. So hopefully that answered your question. I don't I don't like I don't like talking badly about anything, but I've already been through that ringer with multiple subs, and so I kind of know. Um, and I like Def Bonds. Don't get me wrong, I really do. I like the 300 series, some of the best subwoofers ever made. For your money, they're freaking great. Um, I don't like the 4500s. Anything above the 300s is a whole lot of sketch in a bucket. But it will do the job. But you asked my opinion, so I give it to you. Unfortunately. Row battery, please charge ya. I hate when that happens. Let's see here. Will, I don't know what Will did with that car, but it looks dangerous to stand in front of Will. Too much bass, dude. You really said that? There's no such thing as too much bass. I was watching the YouTube video. I saw it pop up. It's how to build a bass trap. I'm like, the hell is wrong with you? You want to trap it? I mean, come on, dude. You need more bass. You're going backwards. Yeah. What's sad is he used a concrete form to build the bass trap, something that you could put a subwoofer in and make more bass. He used to murder bass. He's a bass murderer. That's wrong, man. That is so wrong. Let's see, subsonic. If I think anything above like 20 hertz, we all know 20 to 20K is sonic, and I agree with that. It isn't just a number and it's something that you say. I typically push stuff up to about 24 and higher. 20 hertz doesn't really work for me. Some people like playing in the teens, but I can. I mean, it's just not my jam. So much bass. Gary. Let's see. My beats over the ear had my ears ringing on Pink Floyd. If you got good earphones, man, hell yeah, good headphones are a big deal. Let's see here. Be screw on down here because I got backwards somehow. El Fuego's in the house. He says hello from the Pacific Northwest. We talked about it. Dubby from the Down Under. Yeah, Dubby's in here with one of his clones. Sky High killing them deals. Won't find a better place on a lot of items. True. Sky High's got a lot of good stuff. I mean, I don't have any problem with Sky High as a distributor. Honestly, I mean, I work with Big Jeff, but they're direct competitors. But I don't have any problem with Sky High whatsoever as a distributor. Thunder when almost ordered the Titan 8. Oh yeah. You don't really want to jump that. That's not pound for pound. Trunk Thunder Lithium gives you more for your money with the Titan than the Titan 8. It's kind of weird, man. I compare the Titan 8 to the Trunk Thunder Lithium 5K, but it's actually closer in comparison to the Big Jeff lithium battery. It's got the same amp hours. I'm not really sure. I think they're using different cells. And if that's the case, I mean, the Big Jeff battery is like $300, and if it's the same amp hours and the same throughput, same C rating as the Titan 8, then, I mean, you'd be a fool to run the Titan 8. The Titan 8 is a bit overpriced. I think it is. I think it's the same. At least it's the same electrically. I don't know if it's the same batteries or not. That's questionable. I do know that the Trunk Thunder Lithium 5K has twice as much amp hours as the Titan 8 does. So one Trunk Thunder Lithium 10K version 3 is equivalent to 4 Titan 8s. 4 Titan 8s will run you around $2,000. So depending on what kind of deal you get, you might get them a little cheaper, but for that same amount of power and everything, you can get that with the Trunk Thunder Lithium version 3 for half that price. Again, the numbers just don't add up. That's what I'm trying to say. So I mean, I don't want to. I'm not dumping on the Titan 8. I'm not dumping on excess power. I would never do that. They're a great company. They build good products. All I'm saying is, when you add the numbers up, it doesn't come out at the same place as some of the other providers do. Slim said, I broke the windshield with too many 18. I broke a windshield when I was like 16 years old, but it was because my girlfriend kicked the damn thing. She still had heels on. I mean, I don't know. I was a teenager. Okay. We got excited. Shit went the window. Went right through the window. And no, I did not. I did not stop the activities. We kept going because as a teenager, man, what the hell? Never too much bass. Never, never, never. Let's see. I got the 10K for overkill for future upgrades. Solid choice. Solid choice. Oh, I'm gonna take my headphones out because they keep coming in and leaving. It's very annoying. They keep cutting in and cutting out. I'm not gonna listen to them. Huh. So dang, the phone rang, and this is a subject I wanted to ask about. Thunder Lithium 5K versus Glow Voltage Series 3. Is that the new Glow Voltage battery? I think it is. I asked Brandon about that because I hadn't heard anything about it. And I think he's using different cells. So I think it was. He's using different cells. So it's not the same thing. I don't remember. I don't want to lie to you and say I know for sure because I can't remember. And I haven't dug into it myself personally. Will said I got a Limitless 30 and one vehicle and a 57 Retro. Who that 57 Retro? I showed a video about this a while back, guys. I don't like talking about it. Let me just go back and pull the video up. Give me a minute. Throw in them questions. Whatever you got, throw them into the thing, and I'm going to dig something up real quick. I don't want to talk about it. I'll just show you. Let's see if we can figure out what the hell's going on. Okay, we'll do that. Pause you. Okay. All right. That's fine. Hey, we're live. I'm looking at my channel. I didn't realize we were live. Holy crap. What the hell do I do? I don't know if this is going to work or not. Okay, yeah. So I want to show you guys something. So this just to answer the questions. And there we go. I want to put audio should be on, but it doesn't matter. Watch this video, guys. Heads up. That's all we got to say about that. I just wanted to let that speak for itself. And you make decisions over what you decide, but I will drop that on you and let you decide on how to go with that. Let's see. I took my 12 out of my box. Personal choice on Dynamat. That's a brand. Personal choice on butyl foil sound deadener treatment stuff. If I'm spending big money, it's going to be the GP Car Audio brand. That's if I'm going to spend big money, that's who I'm going to use because that stuff is absolutely phenomenal. It's not cheap at all. It's very expensive, but it's dense enough that you could roll up one piece and slap somebody upside the head and knock them flat on their back. It's some serious stuff. If I'm trying to go budget, Amazon. Amazon all day. Amazon brand deadener all freaking day. And that's a big stretch. That's from one to the other, but those are the two that I like to use. The Noico is pretty good if you can't get the Amazon brand. Killmat is okay, but Amazon's what I always go for if I'm trying to go budget. So those are my two that I recommend personally. Four of them. Okay. Jeffrey said, base head garage watt meter. Should I unhook it to get most power out of my system? No, it doesn't affect your power. I already know my box rise and max peak. It doesn't affect your power, dude. It's like hooking up a voltmeter. It doesn't draw any kind of power. It's handy to keep an eye on things too. If you got it hooked up right, you'll get your voltage. All right, is it the voltage on it too? Can't remember if the voltage shows up on there. I think no, it doesn't. Your actual like input voltage, but it does let you see what your rise is constantly, and as things change, and it's cool. It's something to look at. It's like a RTA meter or whatever. But it doesn't hurt you. That's what I'm trying to say. Mad Ball Baby. Looking to upgrade my 12-inch W7s. I want something stronger, not too expensive, though I want to upgrade my JL 1200.1 and JL 300.4. Got for me. Man, that's a deep subject. I mean, W7, that's an SQ sub. So if you're wanting to move away from pure SQ and just get more bass, and there's lots of options. I mean, Slapz is who I'm going to tell you to go see because you're going to get the most bang for your buck. You're running a 12-inch. You're running a 12-inch W7. So it's just two different worlds. Let me reiterate that because we're talking about two completely different worlds. But if you're wanting more output, and yeah, there you go. If you're wanting more output, you could run a bigger one. But let's go over here, see if this will work again. Wow, it worked again. So you could pick up the SmackDown V212, 3000 watt RMS sub. I don't know how deep your box is. I know the W7 is actually a pretty deep sub, but I don't know how big your box is or how deep it is. But this guy right here for $484 would be an excellent choice if your box can support it. Again, I don't know. Of course, a bigger cone area is always better as long as you have the room for it. But you got three options, 12, 15, and 18 in the SmackDown range, which are all 3,000 watt RMS subs. And actually the 18's a 3,500 watt RMS sub. But if you're looking at that and you come down here to the Slapz Audio Shock 5K.1 full bridge, this is an excellent amplifier to cover all three of those subs. And be sure to use discount code, and notice that amp's not very expensive. Use discount code CAE and it'll knock another 10% off of the purchase price that you're already getting a ridiculous price for. But it's even better. So the main thing is figure out your airspace that you have to sacrifice to the gods of bass, because you always have to sacrifice to them or else thunder comes on your head, and not in a pleasant way. What did I do with my stuff? So I am so bad. I'm such a baddie. Oh my God. I am such a baddie. Okay, here we go. But yeah, figure out how much airspace you have to work with externally, and then put the biggest subwoofer you can in there with the correct airspace. I can't imagine not being able to fit one of the 15s. That'd be the man. You're going to get a lot of bass out of that 15. Let's see here. Making Mitsubishi also is a 320 amp alt with a big 3 and trunk under 10K version 3, enough for a 6K. Is a 320 amp alt? Yes, 100%. That's enough for about twice that much power easily. Maybe even a little more than that. Your 6K will be riding high on the hog with that power. No voltage. Let's see here. Get a second sub. Yeah. I've left it hooked up, but people it moved. People told me to unhook it. Yeah. Well, I just showed you guys the video because I don't want to talk about it. I don't like dissing on anything or anybody or any brand. I just I run my system, not my mouth. You know what I'm saying? Metaphorically speaking here. Slapz too. Yeah, Slapz solid, man. That's what I'm running in my Tahoe. We do devastating shit. What was coming up on that video? Hang on a minute. Let me see something. Running system, not your mouth. Turn it up, let it out. Running system, not your mouth. That's one of my tracks. It's in my head. Is that one? That's what? No, that's not really. I don't know. Is that one? Have to go back and look. I have That's not it. I have a lot of demos that I've done in my time. So up on the channel. Yeah. Some of these are old. But yeah, they still get down. I pull up old stuff. Oh yeah, it was the bass for toys. That was a good one. This is one of the last shows. Hang on. All right, I think we can pause for a second. Get a W6. Well, there you go. What would be a better option for SQ subs for under the back seat? To JK? You mean JL? 13 TW. Yep, awesome. TW5s, back seat is sealed. There's not anything that's better for that situation. That's literally the best you're going to get under the back seat of a truck, unless you do like a whole bunch of subs firing forward in a ported box and put a lift kit on your back seat. So 2016 Ram, yeah, you just get a lift kit, put it on your back seat, and run one of the enclosures with like 4/8 or something like that in it, and the port's firing forward. And one of those Gately boxes, they're really expensive though. They're really, really expensive. It's going to get down and going to get pretty loud. Well, as far as sound quality, nothing's going to beat that, what you've got in there right now. Those things are awesome. Yeah, I picked up on the JL thing. Will I notice more output if I remove the rear deck sub? My seats don't come down. Yes, you will. You'll notice more output. There's not a rear deck sub. It may be a rear deck woofer, but it's definitely not a subwoofer. It's more of a mid-bass driver. But yeah, with letting the air in makes a big difference. I'm working on a design for my SmackDown 18. Could probably fit a sixth or a fourth. Sixth. If you can get a good sixth design, sixth all the way. It's going to be way more musical than a fourth. But you got to get a good design. If you can't get a good design and you can't get a rock solid design, then run a fourth. Or a flat wall. Bobby B. I don't like them either, Bobby. Switch those Molex connectors to Dean's plugs. Look up Dean's Deans plug and switch all those garbage Molex connectors to Dean's plugs. I need more info. Dual 2 ohm or dual 4 ohm? Dual 4s for 2 subs, dual 2s for 4 subs. And it depends. The next part of that. So if you're going to run 4 subs, you want dual 2s. And yeah. And if you want and dual 2s, you wire those to 4 ohms each, and then wire them in 4 ohms for series, and then wire the 2 of them in parallel for 2 ohms. Do the same with the other 2, and then you wire both sets of those in parallel for 1 ohm. And if you're doing 2, you run dual 4 ohms, and you wire them down to 2 ohms each, and then run. I have to think about this. Hang on a minute. Dual 4s to 2 ohms. Yeah, and then the 2 together for 1 ohm. Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, the answer is yes. Depends on what you're doing. Is an 8K to 10K amp rated at 1 ohm enough for 2 DC level 5s connected at 2 ohms? So if you're looking at an amp that's rated at 8 to 10K at 1 ohm, it's going to be rated at 4 to 5K at 2 ohms. I don't know what the DC audio level 5 subs RMS is, but if you're looking at 4 to 5K RMS output, you would need to have 2 to 3,000 watt RMS subs for that. I don't know what they are, but that's what you'll get. And then of course, after impedance rise, you're going to go to 4 ohms probably or close to it, which means you're going to cut that power in half again, and you'll be making about 12 to 1,500 watts per sub ish after rise. So I don't know what your subs can handle or what you're looking for, but I'm just giving you the basic run of the mill rounded math. But yeah, I mean, you're going to get a lot of power out of that. You're still going to get 12 to 1,500 watts per sub. So after rise and everything, that's only in certain spots. You're actually going to get more power on them. You're going to get more power on them outside of their impedance rise. Whenever the rise is lower, you're going to get more power on them. You're going to do some serious fucking damage with that much power. Actual power. That's not bullshit power. That's actual power. 1 alt versus 2 alt. 2 alt's bigger. Carries more current. How much current do you need to move? 1 alt or 2 alt is definitely not twice as big as 1 alt. So you're not going to get twice as much current capacity with 2 alt than you will 1 alt. That's not a thing. Also, 2 alt is not going to slide into the connectors on your amplifiers unless it's welding cable. Welding cable 2 alt is very, very similar to audio cable 1 alt. So if you're getting welding cable, go for 2 alt. and it will connect to your amplifier. So it's snug, but it will. It's my suggestion always to go with welding cable because the jacket is more durable, far more durable than the audio cable jacket. Uh, Jeff said my back seats don't lay down either, so I removed the rear deck and made. Yeah, yeah. You can remove it. You can do a lot of stuff. I mean, you can plywood it and cut holes in it. Um, let's see here. Okay, Rockthird. I see what you did. Rebuilding my 12. Looking for an 8K or a 10K. Why? What's the purpose of that? Um, why do you want to wire to a half an ohm? I mean, because you've got subs that wire to a half an ohm. If that's the case, fair. But you should never plan that route. There's no point in it. If you need more power after rise, just put more power on the system. I mean, amplifiers are not expensive these days. There's no point in trying to stress out one amplifier when two will do the job better. Not as likely to blow up. But if you're looking for half ohm stability, most companies don't advertise half ohm stability. Slapz monoblocks will handle half an ohm, but they're not warranted for half an ohm. A whole lot of companies, that's going to be the case. But typically, if you're wanting to run something at half ohm, it's going to need to be a half bridge amp, which means it's going to cost you a lot more usually. It's also going to need way more power to run it. You're almost cheaper to buy new subs than it is to upgrade your electrical and buy an expensive half bridge amp to be able to run the subs you currently have. It's just a facts of life base edition. I just got HD 315. New JP will be here this week. 1500 should be good for the break. Good for break in, I'm guessing. Break in is something I just don't. I go full send as soon as I put the shit in the box, and it over time it just gets louder and plays lower. Break in for me is it's not as fast as it will be later. That's what break in is. I go 50% over RMS power for 6 hours in the parking lot as soon as I put the subs in the vehicle. They don't get no break in. They just get louder once they broke in some, if you will. But yeah, that's fine and dandy. It can be, my friend. It can be. Not always, but it can be. Oh, you like spending money, Red Pill. 13 ply birch versus other plywood. That's a good question. More plies tends to make a harder, stiffer plywood. So what the difference in them is if you over a span of a distance, many more plies, thinner plies, tend to make the wood stronger and stiffer, so it won't flex as easy. If you're asking what the difference is, that's really the biggest difference. The second difference is high grade plywood, like the 13 ply birch or even more plies, tends to not have voids in it. And those voids are basically spaces inside the plywood where there's no wood and there's no glue. It's just a hole inside there. And the voids, some people say that they cause resonance. I don't think that's the case. But they will get into a bit of trouble whenever you cut into them and trying to cut the plywood. You end up cutting into a void. Then you got to pack some sawdust and glue in the void to fill it in, because otherwise you'll have a big, ditch in the side of your box. The higher grade wood tends to not do that tends to not have as many voids. And birch is naturally a harder wood, so it's stiffer. is also somewhat more marine rated just by default. So it's not as likely to have issues with water, but it's also significantly more expensive. And to be clear, I use pretty much exclusively really cheap plywood for my enclosure. Um, let's see here. We're going to shift over here. I want to show you guys something. We're going to put more show and tell. All right, guys. So this is what we ended up raising with the toys for
Raised
base.
a bunch of money and gathered a
And-
bunch of toys.
I think we did pretty good. There's a lot of kids going to have lots of toys. And I think we did real good, man. I'm very happy.
Okay. With somebody in the police department. Okay. In the city.
Very happy. We're doing the Advanced 3. Loaded in there.
Shane, you ready?
Huh?
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready whenever, yeah.
So let's see what else we got going on here. Dirty Power. You guys can watch me do my run here. El Fuego says, is MDF played out in the enclosure scene? MDF is heavy. It's absorbent. It doesn't finish for crap. And it's really quite expensive. Plywood's lighter, stiffer, not as dense, but stiffer. And it handles construction better. It's overall a better quality product. It's depending on what you're doing. Let's see what I got here. I don't remember what my score was. Yeah, we got on up there a little bit. Yeah, it was a 55.9, a 155.9. I was running my base knob at half tilt for demos. I had it set up for demoing, and I never changed it for the lane. So my score was a little lower than it would have been. That's Chris in there, guys. That's the one we built the 415s together for in the Cadillac. Let's see here. How important is sound deadening in the Tahoe? See, I don't use a lot of what you would call sound deadening, like the stuff that you buy in the box and put on the metal. So that stuff, I use some of that. I got it in my doors. I have quite a bit of it in my doors to stiffen those up inside. But I don't really use a lot. I don't have zero on the roof, but I've also got, like 2 inches of plywood on the roof. And I've got some just different materials. I use different materials to solve the problem. I don't just throw boxes of sound deadener at it. I use different materials to address each individual spot. So if it's a metaphorical word, like how important is deadening panels, then very important, extremely important. It's like all the important. But we don't use a lot of the sheet butyl
foil backed sheet butyl stuff. It's a whole lot of other things happening in there. So it's kind of a trick answer to that question. It's not as easy as just saying really or awesome or whatever. Jeffrey, if you're running a high powered system, you definitely need sound detonating. Sound detonating. I like detonating sound. That's all good. But yeah, it depends on what you're doing. And like I said, it's not as simple as just saying yes, because it depends on how you're asking the question and what the question you're really asking is. If we deaden the panels, yes, a lot of ways and take it very seriously. But do I use a whole lot of that butyl, fullback butyl sheets? No, not in my build, not specifically. I did quite a bit inside the doors because it was the easiest way to couple the all the different things in the door together and to stop the metal from moving. It was the easiest way. I could have went with some epoxy pourer, some of that 6-pound foam in the doors, poured around the outside of it. Those are all options, but I used butyl in there for that purpose. But this is the Tahoe plan in its current state right now. Again, this is my low-powered demo tune. So I cut back a little bit. I don't run it full tilt. I run it at about, this is on 33 out of 66, so it's roughly half of what it's capable of. It's capable of quite a bit more power than what I'm running it at. But this is enough to terrify people. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just, providing a sound roller coaster for folks to enjoy.
Stay up there.
I've already got this guy broke in, but I dropped some Hulk on him.
Trying to hide from the monster inside. Every face, every town I pass. Feel the rage that I cannot suppress. Friends don't stay, love turns away. Every heartbeat fights another day. Chains unseen, I wear them still. Life's a war I can't ever kill. Piano.
That's how we do it, guys. So, in your opinion, how loud could the 4515 get on the proper box? Man, there's a math equation that you can do, but it involves cabin gain. And since I don't even have the math equation memorized, but you can look at all these different certain specs and you can come up with a pretty close number. The thing is, it all depends on everything. The box, the ports, the tune, the melody, the vehicle, how it's configured in the vehicle, all that shit. So it's like everything. There's so many things involved in answering that question that I can't really answer that question. How important is using tinned OFC power wire and speaker wire versus the cheaper copper-clad aluminum? Yeah, that girl, that's his old lady. She was not going to do the hair trick again. Last time I got her in the window, I tied all her hair in knots, and so she's banding it up over there, and we're just wiggling beards. So, okay, I've had this talk before, but that doesn't mean that everyone's heard it. So OFC, let's see, copper-clad aluminum has a few downfalls. One of them is it actually conducts less current, which means you need twice as much of it to accomplish the same amount of conductivity. Another is it actually has voltage drop. So when you're trying to get your voltage from your alternator or battery to your amplifier, CCA or copper-clad aluminum will actually cause your voltage to drop more than OFC copper will. So that's a couple of things. The third thing is it corrodes really bad. So you said you live in the Northwest or in Northwest Kentucky. So you're not really having to deal with saltwater spray and stuff much. But over time, the wire will turn into this green powder. And as the wire changes from a metal into a powder, it leaves voids in there, and those voids cause it to compact. So whatever means you are using to connect that wire to something, be it a worm screw as an amplifier or a lug connected to a battery, whatever means you're using to connect that um, will start to fail. The connection will become weak, and you'll start building up heat in there. And pretty much every time you see someone melt a fuse or melt a fuse holder, it's because they were using CCA wire. Like every time you see somebody that has melted a fuse holder, I guarantee you they're running copper clad aluminum wire. And what's happened is that connection has gotten loose, and now that fuse holder gets hot because it has a weak connection. And yeah, that's how it works. So there's a lot of differences, and it's not really a good idea. Now, all of that was talking about power wire. On speaker wire, I don't think there's really a big issue as long as um, you're not living over there on the coast, because the conductivity problems are not really an issue, not nearly as much because you're using AC instead of DC. And AC doesn't really need a big, massive conductor because it's wiggling, not pushing. Um, and the only real issue then becomes corrosion. So as long as you can keep the corrosion in check with good connectors and good heat shrink on the end to keep them from getting wet and corroding, and you can get away with it on speaker wire. W says, or El Fuego says, what dB difference to get between a sealed cabin and windows down? You can change it by a couple of dB, and the windows down on the side where your meter is not right. So in my case, in most cases, it's the driver's side. I run the driver's door open, and then everything's sealed up on the passenger side where the meter is. And I do that to allow the chamber, to allow the corner to load better. And I'm not sure why it works specifically that way, but it does work. If you guys are looking at doing meter runs, you're going to want to build pressure over where the meter is and then relieve some pressure on the other side. Typically, we leave the driver's window down or the driver's door open, depending on which one works for you. So it could be, it's quite a bit of difference. And the funny thing is, you almost always get more pressure with the window down or an opening than you will with everything sealed up. And that makes no sense to me. And I'm still trying to master that up in my brain, but it is the case. Voltage drop is a problem, Fuego says. Saw this and immediately went with OFC wire. Yeah. OFC welding wire is the best choice. Unless the only reason I would use the OFC audio wire is if you've got to make runs that are very tightly bent and around corners and things. That audio wire is easier, with exceptions. If you run the Flex Whip welding wire, it's going to be as soft as any audio wire out there. So, yeah, Fuego, CCA is common on voice coils. Absolutely. Aluminum is lightweight. And so whenever you're wanting to do certain things with the voice coils, you need weight. Weight becomes a factor. So you have to figure that in for sure. Madball Baby says, I think the only thing I done wrong is not use grommet through the firewall. That's a big one. If you can't do that, if you screwed that up, go up there and push or pull your wire out of that position, 6 or 8 inches or whatever, and then wrap several layers of electrical tape around the outside of your wire and then push it back where it belongs so that at least you got some extra protection there. Because that is a really, really, really big no-no. That's like one of the biggest mistakes that you could make. That metal is just waiting to cut a hole in that and then become a dead short. And not only that, but the firewall tends to flex a whole lot whenever your bass is playing. So the thing that you manage to do is give it the best possible opportunity for failure. You've got a sharp piece of metal with no protection, probably audio wire. I don't know. And it's vibrating, which means it's kind of like a jigsaw. It's just trying to cut a hole in that. Let's see. Now, Rick Ross says, why do speaker manufacturers use CCA in voice coils? Because it's light and because it's alternating current. It's not direct current. Again, you don't need a superconductor to handle alternating current. That's why your extension cord wire can be so small and still carry 200 or 300 amps, 200 amps, or whatever, 150 amps. If you tried to pull 150 amps of DC through that, it would immediately smoke that wire. But 150 amps of AC can be carried over a relatively small wire. It doesn't need a real healthy conductor. So AC is a different beast than DC. Blake says, is welding wire cheaper than car audio wire or something? I'm wanting to replace all of my alt gauge to 4 gauge. Mm-hmm. It's cheaper, but the gauges are different. So welding wire, 2 alt welding wire is about the same size copper wise as 1 alt audio wire. So you would need to go with bigger than 4 alt to get the same amount of copper. Yes, it would be cheaper as listed as 4 alt, but you would need to go bigger than that to get it. So it ends up being about the same price. Copper, that's the funny thing about copper is across the board, it's going to be very similarly priced from manufacturer to manufacturer. If the wire costs less, it probably has less copper in it because everybody's paying the same price for copper. A lot of these wires are manufactured in the same location. The same company will build a dozen different brands of power wire, and they use the same exact copper to do all that with, except unless it's a real boutique thing. El Fuego says AC/DC is awesome on a good system. This is us building the trunk wall in the Impala. That's what's playing in the background. You guys need to hit me up with questions. It's a question and answer system. You ask questions, I try to answer them. Or El Fuego does. Maybe Debbie. Maybe Bobby B. I don't know. Oh, yeah. I was saying you always want to measure several times because you don't want to start a process and screw it up. And that's one of the things I did in this build is I built the piece completely wrong. And I mean, I went through a lot of work to build that piece exactly right. And then it was exactly wrong. I was able to use it as a pattern to make the correct piece, but yeah, I screwed it up. And basically, it was like it should have been a right angle and I made it a left angle, if you can imagine that. That's kind of how it went. The door swung the wrong way. I am not trying to leave early, but y'all have to help. That's how this works. It's question and answer, questions and answers. I don't run a script, man. I don't know what to tell you. However far down, we got to build this piece to come in, go over and back over. That's going to sit on top of this. That'll seal that up to here. And the funny thing is, when I did this, I was using cardboard as a template, but I didn't end up using the cardboard at all. I ended up using a tape measure to measure shit. Les Claypool hasn't even made it to the stream yet. Hell no. What's up, Kicker Car? Nice to see you show up, man. Let's see here. Matt, Les Claypool hasn't even made it to the stream yet. Good evening, chat. Any of you got a lot of snow this weekend? I'd have rather played with my base ride than plow snow. Just plow snow with the base ride, man. Now you see that top part up there that I'm talking about? I'm going to try to pause this. If you look, hey, here's the vertical part of this, right? And then right here is the horizontal part. And I was making a piece to fit this horizontal part and this vertical part, so it's an angle like that, right? And I had to cut out all this stuff and cut all these shapes into it. Well, I got all the shapes and everything cut into it, but on this, let me back up just a little bit. Hang on. I'll show you what I did wrong. Okay, that's good. So right here on the vertical piece, right, it has this curve. So I had to come up and hit this curve right here. And then I had to create this horizontal piece, and it had to go around all this hot garbage up here, all these little hooks and tabs and stuff. Well, what I did was I made the horizontal piece attach down here instead of up here. So yeah, it's bad. I figured it out in the video, but it went badly. And then I rebuilt it and used all the cutouts, mirrored them over and traced them out, and it worked perfectly. But people know of me. People know of me. It's like the mysterious stranger strolls into town. It's like, yeah, I'm here. The show can start now. Madball Baby with the Slapz setup, is AGM good or do I need to go lithium? Never used. I'm going that big. It all depends on. See, lithium is going to give you a lot more throughput. That's the key. It's not so much its reserve; it's the throughput. So a sorb glass mat, any lead acid chemistry, can only take power in so quickly, and it's limited to about 0.3 or 0.5 C. So 0.3 or 0.5 of the amp hour rating of the battery, which is usually around 30 to 50 amps. So you're pulling way more power out than that, but you can't put power back in fast enough. So your voltage will just steadily plummet. And that's what happens with AGM, is the fact that it just can't take power fast enough. And it's heavy and it's bulky and all that stuff, but it can't take power fast enough. So same thing, any variant of lithium can take anywhere from 10 to 20 C. So if you got like 100 amp hours of lithium, you can put 2,000 amps of power into it and pull that out. That's the difference that it makes, right? That's really the big difference. Yeah. So like with Trunk Thunder Lithium, the input and output for the 10K is around 800, 900 amps, maybe a little more in burst, and around 600 to 700 steady. That's a lot of power. I mean, that's 6,000 to 9,000 watts right there. Support right off the bat, constant support. If this isn't counting the actual reality of music and all the dynamic things happening. It's a big difference. It's like one of the trunk thunder lithium batteries could basically replace about 8 AGM batteries, and do it with style. So I don't know. Um, what? Okay, where are we at? We're talking about Les Claypool. Okay. All right, we're catching up now. I'm back where I started out at. If you have 2 runs of 2-alt power wire, do you have 2 runs? Okay, let me reread this. If you have 2 runs of 2-alt gauge power wire, do you have to use 2 runs of 2-alt gauge for a big fork grid? Not really, because you're using shorter cable. And your grounds, like your ground from here to there, and your small jet run from your alternator to your battery up front or whatever. If the runs are nice and short, 2 or 3 feet long, you can pull about twice as much current through that wire. So, no, you don't have to. Would I do it? Yeah, but you don't have to. Simple ways to improve box efficiency. Man, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of wives' tales that are in this one. So, I could give you all those. I don't know how many of them actually matter, but okay. So the fact is, wood is porous, and although it doesn't really breathe like, I haven't noticed it. Some people will talk about it, being able to pull a suction through a piece of MDF and whatnot. I don't really think that matters as much, but I will say that doing anything to the internal part of your enclosure to create a hard sealed surface does improve the efficiency of the subwoofer. So multiple coats of paint, bed liner, the metal tape that everyone likes to use, that shiny silver metal tape, all kinds of stuff, whatever you can use inside the enclosure to cover the entire volume of the internal part of the enclosure with something that is completely airtight is going to help some. I don't know how much. A lot of people will say that it's significant. I haven't seen that in practice, but I have seen that it does help some. Creating a good port, giving your airflow a good smooth surface to move over in the port, and using port flares absolutely helps. I've seen this in practice. Creating good port flares on both ends and creating a good smooth surface for that air to move through that port. That's a big deal. What else? Getting a good seal on your subwoofers so they're not leaking around the edges. Sealing up your wires or your connectors going through your box. All those things are actually relevant. They actually help. Hopefully that helps some. Ouch! You did things. I accidentally blew my 12. Well, that's because you weren't using a Sony Explode. Y'all tell him he needs to get Sony Explode 12s. Down for sound LTO. Can't speak on it too much. I can speak on LTO. And it doesn't matter what name brand you put on LTO. They're all Yinlong cells. They all come from the same manufacturing plant. They literally have the same exact. If you pull the branding off, you'll see underneath it says Yinlong. They're all the same. So pick whichever one sells them the cheapest. It's probably not going to be down for sound. But LTO cells are safer. They're probably the safest lithium out there. You can basically chop them in half with an axe. You can run over them with a truck. You can cut them in two with a skill saw. You can shoot them. They're just really hard to make them do anything violent. But they're also bulkier. They're far more expensive, and they're not as power dense as Lipo 4 is. So that's my thoughts. But yeah, just put whatever name you want to put in front of that LTO. If it was me, I'd just go straight over to like somewhere like Battery Hookup and order Yinlong LTO cells and not spend the extra money to have that shrink wrap on my bank. I put whatever shrink wrap I want on there. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is a piece of shrink wrap over the top of the Yinlong branding. For a more sub-box efficiency, usually more box and port than needed. Well, now we're talking about designing. We're talking about how to change the box itself and add efficiency to an existing box. But yes, more box and port than needed is absolutely going to make them more efficient. You'll sacrifice a little bit of control, but you'll definitely get more output. Yeah, right. He even goes on to say that. But then you run into damaging your speakers with too much power. Yep. Or mechanically damaging them because you don't have enough control, which is basically what he's saying. When will the Trunk Thunder Lithium be back in stock? I have no way of telling you that. I do know that Brandon is losing his mind right now trying to make sure that this stuff gets out as quickly as it comes in. So if you got pre-orders in, don't fret. Brandon's working it. As soon as the stuff clears customs and he's able to start building, he will immediately fill the orders as quickly as he can. I do know that he's having a hard time keeping stuff in stock. Everybody sees a good value and they're jumping on it. It's just that simple. They see quality, they see value, and they're jumping on it. So yeah, can't answer, but I know that it will happen as soon as it happens. I agree 100%. Spent too much on excess power. Spent so much on an excess power. Yeah. They went to the game changer. Yeah, 100%. It's like I said, it takes 8 batteries to equal one Trunk Thunder Lithium 10K. It takes 8 AGM batteries to give you the same throughput, which is what you're actually playing on. And El Fuego, you're just wrong. 45 in the corners. Yeah, I haven't seen that be effective, but I'm not saying that it isn't. It does create more strength in the corner if you're, running thinner materials, especially. It gives you more of a glue surface over there. The thing about the airflow before it goes into the port, though, is it's already so agitated and so much disturbance in it. I don't know that the 45s actually help, but it can't hurt. Will Bobby B finish his build before hell freezes over? No. Hell is already starting to form frost on the walls, and Bobby's not even close to finishing that build. Kicker Car says epoxy. Absolutely. Epoxy in the inside of a box is a great way to do it. You can do the side by side. You just pour some in there and let it level, and then let it set up until it hardens, and then flip it to a different side, put some in there, and keep doing that. Build up a nice little, 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch or something. That works great. You can do it with paint, though. You could do it with just about any kind of liquid that will eventually dry into a hard, flat surface. It's whatever you got laying around. If you got a couple gallons of house paint, use that. Get her done. Is hell no. Ric Flair's the king. Port Flair ain't got shit on Ric Flair. El Fuego, get your mind right. Do I even really need 4 alt? Especially when adding the 5K in the back. All right, let me read your whole thing here, and I'll tell you my opinion if you got all the information in here. Near the system, what size wire should I go from under the hood to the back for, say, 3 to 6,000 watts with 160 amp alt? So you've got a 160 amp alternator in the front, and that's it in the front. Holy bejesus, why would you even think about running 4 alt gauge? Hell, man, you could probably get away with a 4 gauge wire running back there. But I would say 1 alt gauge is totally fine. A single run of alt gauge will handle, at 15, 20 feet, will handle 300 amps, no problem, which is twice as much as you're actually pushing back there. So yeah, man, me personally, knowing what you're going to be doing in the future and all that, if you're ever going to be putting a big alternator up there or whatever, I would run 2 runs of 1 alt gauge or 2 runs of 2 alt gauge welding wire from the front alternator to the Tunder lithium battery in the back. That's overkill, okay? But for the future, you'll be glad you did that, because later on they're going to wind up upgrading alternators and all that stuff. And then having that already ran is going to be a boon for you. You'll make your future Blake happy. That's what I'm saying. But if it's not in the cards to do that, just run a single alt gauge. It's actually plenty of wire to handle your single AGM's contributions as well as your 160 amp. It's more than enough to get that power back there. You don't need to have tremendous amount of throughput from the alternator to the battery. You only need to carry the amount of power the alternator is capable of putting in the battery, and that's what you size your wire for. So no, you don't need 4 alt gauge. Just run a 2 alt gauge welding wire from front to back. That would be the same as an alt gauge audio wire. And when I'm running from the alternator back, I usually run under the vehicle, which means I want to put welding wire down there because it'll handle like 4 times as much heat as car audio wire will. It also has a significantly better abrasion resistance than car audio power wire of any brand. It don't matter. They all failed that test miserably, and all welding wire passes the test. I prefer Flex Whip, or if I need something that's flexible, or Timco. Timco has got a pretty good deal. Let me show you what I found on Timco. This is what I ordered. And I'm getting a message. Okay. Troy was listening to my new track, the King Kong track. Bear with me a second or two, and I shall endeavor. There we go. I will endeavor to show you what I think you would probably want to get. Finding the stuff. Got to find the stuff. By again. Okay. Where's it at? There it is. So let me click this over. So this is what I would recommend. This Timco 2 alt gauge, 25 feet. You can get it in red and black. And it's $126 for 25 feet. It's a pretty good price. And this stuff will handle all the temperatures, all the abrasion, and it'll line up well with your alt gauge equipment. Everything that runs 0 gauge, this will work really well in that, including the sleeves and lugs and all that stuff. And they do have it in red and black. So this is my answer to all those questions. I like this stuff. This is what I'm running for power wire from front to back in my Tahoe. It's got the double jacket it's showing it being really flexible. It's really not that flexible. This is kind of deceiving. It's fairly stiff, but this stuff is, well, that I would totally buy. I totally believe that. See this? Try that with car audio wire. And that I would totally buy. I would totally believe that. That stuff is very tough. Excellent wire. So did you guys get that? Let me get you a link. I'll put it over here in the thingamajigger. So that way you guys can just click it. Just click it. And go straight there. All right. Let's see here. Bobby. Fuego trying to compare me to CCA. And talking smack about Ric Flair. Can't even believe he did that. Fuego said, how do I go about finding a high output alt for my 2000 tracker? Okay, so a 2000 Geo tracker. Well, let's see what we can find you. Yeah. We'll go over to GP. And what are you looking for? The alternator? Yeah, alternator. So if we look at Team GP alternators, and then don't. So I'm running a Team GP. I've had good luck with it. But let's get through here. And this is probably the best advice I could give you right here. Call that phone number during the day, 9 to 5. Or you can come down here and drop it a chat. And they'll respond to you when they give the time. That's one thing. I would check here, and it does list them like 240 amp Hummer H3, 270 amp Chevy Colorado. So you can flip down through here and look for it with your eyeballs. There's not like a search engine thing here. But I would say that Geo Tracker, that's kind of a tough one. It's probably going to be a matched up like with something else, some other alternator that has the same alternator but on a different car. But if they don't have one, they can order one. And there's a lot of stuff here. There's a Dodge Caliber, Dodge Dakota, Dodge Charger, Dodge Caravan, Durango, Stratus, Ford Expeditions, Ford Escorts. I mean, there's a lot of shit in here. So there's a possibility it could be here. I would have to just go through it. I don't know how this is organized, but there's a lot of alternators. So this would be where I would start, and I would start by calling them and asking, because you're probably going to get Felipe when you call. You're going to get Felipe, and I don't know if I can get that to open up. Now I'm just struggling with life, struggling with stupidity. My brain is full of that. But yeah, go there. Bobby B is correct. You can also email McMahon. They can custom make one, and GP will do the same thing. Another option is to find a alternator, a starter motor rebuilder in town somewhere around you, and pick up an alternator from a junkyard and take it to them and have them rebuild it for you. They can actually rebuild it and get your output that you want. And usually they'll do that for a couple $100. It's not really that expensive because their parts are like less than $100, you know, and then just the labor of taking it apart and replacing everything, putting it all back together. It's not a terribly expensive way of doing things. So if you got someone, you know, a shop in town that you can call that can rebuild them, then that's another an option for you. Hopefully that answered at least some of that question. And like I said, Bobby said McMahon can do it. Sure, any of them can. They just need a case. If they can get a case, they can build one. That's the only limitation. Everything else just requires some rewiring and some little wiry bits to go in places. Now, you could do it yourself if you had the knowledge to do it. You just got to basically rewire a bunch of stuff. Mostly use what you have in there, but they have some other parts they're going to replace it with that are to handle more current. But electrically, you could make it do it. You just have to take it apart and rewire it. But it wouldn't be safe. It would burn up because it wouldn't have the parts replaced. But it would produce that power for a little while anyway. Any more questions? I want to get in trouble again. Any more? So if you guys weren't here earlier, I could play a little more of this. It'll be on my my streaming, all your streaming platforms, Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music, iMusic, all those different ones. I have music on there, and so look up Car Audio Enthusiast, all one word with an S at the end, and on your favorite streaming platform, and you can see all the stuff. This track is there.
He rises from the bones of the island, from the storms of old, from the roar that split the sky. Long live the king.
Stone hands pressed down on the mountain ridge. Earth cracks open when he steps to the edge. Tribal drums thump in the jungle of night. Eyes burn gold in the shadowed light. Legend after legend all whisper the same. A beast who bows to no blade or chain. They said he was myth, just a tale, just a dream, till he rose through the fog with the world shaking scream. Villagers kneel as the ground vibrates. Ancient runes glow, the island awakes. Lightning strikes twice on the crown of the hill. Even the gods grow silent when the king stands still. Long live the king. Thunder in his veins when the war drums ring. Long live the king. Long live the king. Skies turn black, you can hear him scream. Long live the king. Long live the king. Fear no monster, fear no thing, 'cause he's the storm, the quake we sing. Long live the king. I'm steel bird circle, but he don't flinch twice. Jet fuel flames can't freeze that ice. Towers fall down at the weight of his stride. He's a whole damn mountain with a warrior's pride. Soldiers shake when he beats his chest. Tribal call, boom, like a warhead's breath. Chains can't tame him, fire can't scar him. Even the devil don't dare try to mar him. He ain't the villain, he's the balance restored. A titan of justice, an ancient lord. He don't start the fight, but he ends the pain, 'cause he's the hammer of thunder in a world gone insane. Long live the king. Thunder in his veins when the war drums ring. Long live the king. Long live the king. Skies turn black, you can hear him scream. Long live the king. Long live the king. Fear no monster, fear no thing, 'cause he's the storm, the quake we sing. Long live the king.
In every age, a king must rise.
Some rule with fear, some rule with lies. But this one, he rules with thunder.
He rules with thunder.
When the world cries out and the weak lose hope, when the chains tighten round the island's throat, he rises from stone like a living crown. Every heartbeat shakes the ground. Enemies fall when the shadow grows. Storm clouds crackle when the fury flows. He guards the lost, protects the small. A king stands tallest when the world feels small. Rage of a monster, heart of a man. Born from the earth with a titans plan. When he throws back his head and unleashes the scream, you remember why the legend sang.
Long live the king.
Thunder in his veins when the war drums ring.
Long live the king. Long live the king.
Skies turn black, you can hear him scream.
Long live the king. Long live the king.
Fear no monster, fear no thing, 'cause he's the storm, the quake we sing.
Long live the king.
The island sleeps,
Long live the king.
the storm fades,
Long live the king.
but the throne stands.
Long live the king.
Long live the king.
So would one be enough? Probably. Two is better. But yes, one would probably carry that without any issues. What did you say the brand was? Taramps? Oh, peace out, Rick Ross. Okay, hang on. I'll get back to that. Let me look up here. I want to see. Yeah, the Big Boss 8K. It's kind of a hungry amplifier, but it would probably work. Two is going to be better. Diet Coke. Y'all pay attention. Hear the fidelity. You can even hear the bubbles, man. I can hear them over my headphones. I love good audio. Good audio is awesome. I wish I had better headphones. Let's look through here and see what we're missing. Got a brand X alt came with from our friends Festiva or Fiesta, two different cars. The alt is different from the ST version of the 1.6. Swap the guts, probably. You can actually, if the alt is different, sometimes you can do a little bit of grinder work and make it work. But swapping the guts is a thing too. Rick took off. Yes, we discussed that. And Bobby, or Madball Baby says, I do have a video. Do you? Do you have a video of you beginning to add audio to my Tahoe? Have a 13-1 ideas. Get back to that. Is it safe to charge higher than 14.4? Yeah, you can typically charge up to 14.8 with most LiPo 4. Pretty much all LiPo 4. And we don't count headway. We don't even use that term. Headway doesn't count. Headway needs to get charged straight into the garbage bin or the recycling bin, which is over the neighbor's fence. I wanted to look something up for you guys while I'm waiting on y'all to ask questions. I'm gonna look something up. Because I can't remember the name of what I'm looking for. So I needed to do a refresher on my brain while I'm letting you guys think of questions. Oh, wait, go back. All right. Yeah, Audio Technica is who I usually go for. So if you're looking for good headphones that aren't going to break the bank, and I like closed ear headphones, and I'll tell you what the difference is too. If you want headphones, okay, that's the M50Xs. That's got the 50 millimeter driver. It's very similar to what I have. I have the M50s. The ones I wanted was the M70s, but I couldn't afford them. But they sound so good. So good. So pretty much everybody has a Best Buy somewhere in their area. So we'll go to the Best Buy site here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So these guys right here, block that. These guys right here are the Audio Technica 50 millimeter drivers. Now, what I like about them, number one, is they're stupid comfortable, which is always a plus. But they have a really warm sound. So a lot of stuff like your Beats and your big bass headphones will have that scooped out sound to them. And you're missing a lot of the low warm vocals and the drums and the saxophone and that tenor sax area and those male vocals and those low female register vocals. You're missing a lot of that. It gets scooped out. And these have got a far flatter sound. And you can adjust your curve however you want it. So this is a rock solid set of headphones to listen to pretty much anything on. If you guys want to pick some of these up, this would be my choice. These are the ones that I've got that I personally have. I wish I had the 70s. The 70 millimeter driver has a little bit more, but the M50 will get the job done and play quite low. Now, you ask about this. You ask about a video of me beginning to add audio to my Tahoe. My Tahoe got a 412 box almost instantly. So I'm trying to think how far back I go on this channel. So I lost my other channel. That's the unfortunate thing that happened. But if we go to the date button and flip it, that's my very first video was on grounds on this channel. So one of my earliest videos was this video. This is the Tahoe. I'm talking about inverting subwoofers. Does inverting your subwoofers on their box, turning the magnets up or out, does that increase the air volume? Yes. Does it lower? Now, this is a terribly boring video if you're not looking for that to get that question answered. It's not going to show you what you're wanting to see, which was building this box. But I can kind of slide around here. So in this shot, you can see my seats are laid down. This box was built as a below window line box. And so it's a box back here, and my seats are laid down. My seats could sit up, and I had my second row fully accessible. And I'm using, if I go to there, I'm using 2 distribution blocks to send all my power and grounds from all my positives and negatives from my speakers. And then you see there's 2 wires running down here. I have the amp rack up here. And at this time, I think I had 2 Memphis. I think I still had the 2 Memphis 1000.1s and I had these subs. These are dual 4s, and I had them wired to 2 ohms per set. And I was running 2 amplifiers on 2 amps, 2,000 watts. And it sounded great and looked really good. But that was that setup. There's another view right there. maybe not. But I'm talking about what the difference is in running inverted or non-inverted subwoofers. That video is a good one. I don't know. Oh, yeah, I had that one. Hold on. Here's the stuff talking about the headway when I built the headways. God, that was horrible, that headway thing. So the overhauls, if you go down here to system overhaul, you go to these videos and go to Tahoe Rebuild Part 1 and Part 2. Part 3, you can see a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. There's also a headway bank in there. You can ignore that or you can watch it. I do talk about the headway. Here's my rebuild of the JL, Darth Vader. That video is a good one. Here's where I'm testing the headway bank. All the different elements involved in all of this. And by the way, do not get this amplifier. This amplifier, let me tell you guys. So this amplifier, the Apocalypse AAS 1000.2D, is an absolute complete piece of shit. It is a piece of garbage. Let me tell you. Okay, so I got one, and I put it on power and put it on 2 6.5s. It immediately clicked off and would never come on. It never even played. So then I got another one and popped it the same way. And I hooked the speakers up first. Then I put the power on like I do all amplifiers because that's the safest way to do it. And popped that one. The third one, I got a replacement again. I did never hook power on it. And I gave it to a friend, brand new in the box, still all wrapped up. The third one, he hooked it up, and within about 5 minutes, it popped. They're a complete piece of shit. Don't even buy them. Don't even think about it. Don't even look at them. Stay away from those 1000.2D AAB Apocalypse amplifiers. Now the 7900.1 is a solid amp, but this is a piece of garbage. Don't even think about it. I reviewed it. It looked cool, but God, it turned into a piece of garbage. So here's me building the headway bank, testing, installing, rebuilding the headway bank, some shows, Bass Wars, a bunch of different shows in here. And here's me talking about the headways. And then I had the other thing. So I went through and redid them again, shortened the bank. Thought it was my fault, but it wasn't my fault. The headways are just garbage. They're not good for car audio. They need to be in a very, very temperature controlled environment. That's the key with the headways. But, and there's the cancer. The cancer came. Melting fuse holes. I got all kinds of videos, man. There's over 1,000 videos. Like 1,200 videos. Any knowledge on learning to build your own Bluetooth speaker? It's actually really easy to build a Bluetooth speaker. Super easy. I mean, there's about 100 ways to do it, but the easiest way is to get a really cheap Bluetooth head unit and get a little power supply to give it power. So, like, for example, this guy, this is a 10 amp. It's a 10 amp power brick. So it can supply 10 amps of power. That's a lot of power for a small thing. You get one of those and it was like, I don't know, like $15 or something like that. Get one of those and get you a little cheap ass head unit that's got Bluetooth. Mount the head unit in a little box, a couple of speakers, Bluetooth. You could jam. You can play all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of other ways to do it, but that's just the easiest way is to just use a freaking cheap car audio radio and a little power inverter and just mount it straight in there and hook some speakers up to it. Put it in an enclosure, whatever kind of enclosure you want. If you want something neat, build it yourself or go down to Hobby Lobby and pick up one of those little treasure chests they have in there or something like that. or you can get an ammo can, or you can get a Pelican box, or you can use a freaking artillery round or whatever. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. An artillery shell with a little subwoofer in the end of it. Boom, artillery. Huh. Yeah, I'm a cannon cocker. All right, hang on. Let's see here. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on 8-inch subs? I don't know. They're smaller enclosure. I mean, you can play lows with anything. You know, if you don't play lows, it's not a subwoofer to me. I mean, it's got to be able to get down into the 20s, or I'm not happy at all. You could play lows with a 4. The thing is though, if you want to know how much. What are my thoughts? Okay, it's not. Let's take away the 8-inch qualifier and just make small subwoofers. So you can play lows with a 1-inch driver, but you can't play lows loud with a 1-inch driver. So when it comes to playing low frequencies, you can play low frequencies with any cone size of any kind. But the louder you want to play them, the more cone area or the more excursion you're going to need. So a high excursion 12, for example, could conceivably be a lot better at playing low bass very loudly than a low excursion 15. So it's all about how much air you're moving. The more air you move, the more air you can agitate, the louder you can play low frequencies. So an 8, 6, 4, whatever fits, the key thing is having the right box and having that set up properly, tuned properly, and everything in line in that regard. Whatever driver fits the airspace you have to work with is the key. If you're building this in a vehicle, you need to find the driver that suits the airspace that you can sacrifice. That's the number one key. It doesn't matter what size it is. The biggest driver you can use that can fit your airspace is what you want. It's going to give you more cone area, more movement, more bass at a higher volume. That's just the facts. Are there some 6s and 8s out there that can perform really, really good, like even as good as a 10 or a 12? Yeah. But they've got tons of excursion. And also, when you have tons of excursion, it means you have a loose subwoofer, which means you're probably not going to play as accurately. So there's drawbacks, and there's handoffs, and there's trade-offs. The bigger the better, man. More boom boom. Frank said, any knowledge on starting? Oh, yeah, we did that one. 2H doing 145 on music. Awesome. I got a feeling you're trying to talk. You're trying to start some shit. But yeah, you could do that with the right enclosure and the right vehicle. Yes. I bet they're kickers too, huh? So you got that extra 20% cone area, man, with a square sub. Square subs are cheating, by the way. They're cheating. They are cheating. Which H and amp enclosure? I'm thinking of going with a box from MBE. Well, man, I'm going to tell you. You tell MBE what you're putting to put the box in and ask him for his recommendation. Just let him give you the information. Say, hey, I'm going to put the box in this vehicle. What do you recommend? And then you do exactly what he tells you to do. And you're going to get a good setup. That's my advice. MBE knows his shit. 2 kicker L7 8s on a kicker. Yeah, I knew it. On a warhorse. Holy shit. You got him on a warhorse. 2.6 cubic feet, 52 inches of port. That's nasty, bro. That's a hell of a little setup. Okay. He said, I was more speaking on wiring beginning. First thing I did was put a 370 amp alternator under the hood and an alternator bracket, dual alternator bracket. I literally did that before I did anything else. because I know where the power comes from. You know, it's like, and I ran 2 power runs to the back. I ran lots of grounds to my body and chassis, and I picked up grounds in the back for the alternator to charge the back batteries. At that time, I had um, these two North Star 80 AGMs back there. Um, that's what I had, so that's what was back there. But yeah, that was my very first wiring, and I put 2 1Ks in there and a 4-channel and another. I had a little JL 500 watt JL amplifier that I used to power the JL sub. But that came a little later. That wasn't right at the beginning. So yeah, hopefully that it's just a lot, man. I mean, I can answer specific questions, but God, telling you the story is so hard to tell. That's why there's so many videos on my channels, because I need to just document all that shit. You go back and sort by oldest and start watching videos, and you're gonna glean all this information you're looking for that I can think of. I was thinking of using Kicker Marine for a head unit. Solid choice. Yeah, solid choice. Kicker Marine head units are great. That would be awesome. I use a little Rockford Marine head unit in my truck for a long time, my big truck. I've actually got a head unit that's basically smaller than most bass knobs. It looks like a bass knob, and it plays MP3s and has a Bluetooth connection. It doesn't have a radio, but it does all the other stuff besides that. And it's just basically, it looks like a knob with a cord coming out of it. You can hold it inside your hand and close your hand around it like that, the whole thing. And that was I want to say that was a Rockford one too. But all those guys are getting that stuff made in the same place, or most of them anyway. They don't. It's like Kicker. Kicker designs subwoofers. They design amplifiers. They don't build radios, so they're getting that built somewhere else, just like everybody else is. They're getting a product made to spec somewhere, and then they're putting the name on it, which is what literally everybody does. Rockford, JL, all of them, Alpine, they all do the same thing. It would be dumb for Kicker to have to build an entire factory just to produce an item that makes up like 1% of their sales, right? It's more about a convenience of having something coming from the same place with the same name on it than it is having something that they design. Is it sundown? 8's doing 150 at 18 hertz. Yeah, that's it. That's what they were saying. What do you think of the Smart 5K? Tar amps? You said stamps, but okay, we'll go with. I'm gonna leave you alone because that was not funny enough to talk shit about it. That typo. Oh, you corrected it below. Yeah, stamps. I like stamps better. What do you think of the Stamp Smart 5K? I don't know. Smart amps are cool. You just don't want to run more than one of them at one time. That causes problems. You don't want to try to run like 2 in the same enclosures and shit because you'll wind up with weird things happening. They kind of fight each other. But smart amps are great. Basically what happens is, as the impedance rise happens, the amp produces more power to fight that. So it's a more stable platform. You're going to get more stable, constant power off of those. But that said, they're also more power hungry too. They use more current to do the whole job. And they're not cheap. Not expensive. Tar amps is definitely not a boutique brand, but you know. Let's see here. I have 2. I don't know what sub to use. 2 Smart 5Ks. You don't want to use both of them in the same build. Like I said, they fight each other. It has to do with the way they detect So one amp pushing a little harder can cause the other one to think something's going on and change its voltage, and they go back and forth screwing with each other. If you're going to run two of them, you have to run them. You want to run them in two separate enclosures. If you're going to try to run them together, you want to run them in separate enclosures, or they wind up causing each other to do stupid shit. So get rid of one of them, or use it in your wife's car or something like that. But as far as setting up an amp and everything, they're fine. They'll be fine for a single situation, like, a single amplifier situation. If you've already got it, don't get rid of it necessarily. Just understand you don't want to use two of them in the same box. Anybody else got any questions? Because we're done busted 2 hours now. We're going past that. Anybody else got any questions? All right. You know what time it is. Let's get the duck out of here, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Out here banging up and down the street, slamming it to the ground. Big subwoofers are getting loud. You can feel the booming sound. Getting ready to go. Got it shined up for the show. Power's charging, amps are amping, gonna let the woofers blow. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. We got more at home. Another one bites the dust. Eyes are glowing and the amps smoking. Subs are cherry red. Let me keep jamming, gotta keep the bass slamming. Gonna go hard till they're dead. Full power, gotta let it go. 20 hertz in the floating hair. Sparks are flying, voice coils are frying, and the smoke is in the air. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. Hey, we got more at home. Another one bites the dust.